The ones that are lost is like overlaps, you know.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Time now is 1:09 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for attending the 14th Police District Council November 1, 2025 meeting. We'll go ahead and get things started off with attendance. Councilor Orlikoff.
Here.
And Councilor Vargas.
Present.
And I am Councilor Laurent. 3 of 3 in the quorum, so we do have quorum. We can go ahead and conduct the official business. First thing, as we do every meeting, is we start off with public comment. Going to take about 20 minutes total, giving each speaker roughly 2 minutes apiece. Don't feel compelled to use the entire 2 minutes if you don't need it. Trying to get as many people in here as possible. I know there's plenty to talk about. So that being said, do we have any public comment? Ms. Heyman.
I'm not going to stand up, it's too hard for me to do, but my name is Sally Heyman. I was at the CCPSA meeting on Thursday evening, remotely, but there were 2 points that I wanted to follow up with at this meeting, particularly with the commander of the 14th district. One is that they're working on a new workforce allocation, they said, that will be ready by December. And I would really like to see that early next year, January, hopefully, if we can do that. We asked the old police commissioner for that for months and months, and never got an answer. The other thing is there's going to be a new policy on domestic violence. They'll be ready by the end of December, and that's another one that I definitely would like to see. Great, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other public comments? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move forward. Thank you for all the comments that were shared. Let's see, next thing, we've got a couple of meeting minutes to go over, and I know that this is usually the most exciting part. However, while we mull over the minutes, I'm going to ask Commander Rivera to come up and give us some updates on the police, from the police perspective. Commander Rivera, welcome.
Happy Halloween to everyone. Hopefully everyone had a happy Halloween. I'm not sure if anyone got a chance to attend the Safe Zone, the Halloween Safe Zone that was created on Bernard Street between Fullerton and Brightwood. That was a huge success. We had over 2,000 children attend. It was my decision to seal off and actually make it a safe zone due to all the ICE and all the other worries that we had in our community. So CPD, the blue lights, we made sure that we made it a safe zone and it was a huge success. Everyone was happy. As far as crime, all our numbers are down from last year. So crime is going really well. We had a slight uptick in CSAs earlier in the year. It was an individual who had committed several CSAs. He's now in custody. He actually committed several CSAs across the United States. So he's in custody. As far as questions, I'm just going to open it up, and if anyone has any questions, please here at this time.
I'm sorry, sir, I'm new here. I don't know who you are. I apologize.
No, that's
You're
fine.
the commander, but I don't have a full introduction, and then I don't know what a CSA is, so.
It's a criminal
Help me
section.
out.
Criminal
Someone that's
section.
new in the-
So I'm Commander Ricky Rivera,
Yes, sir. Thank you.
25 years in law enforcement.
Thank you.
So I've been appointed since maybe April of this year.
Okay, great.
As far as CSA, there's criminal sexual assaults. So this year, there was an individual who committed several criminal sexual assaults across Chicago, across the United States. After investigations and after working with other states, with federal entities, he was able to be placed into custody. So as far as numbers, so crime index numbers, those are homicides, those are shootings, criminal sexual assault victims, murders. As far as thefts, whether family misdemeanor, everything's down. I don't usually bring exact numbers, but I'll provide any of the council members' numbers. I know Ashley has some numbers from our last meeting. I don't know if you want to maybe go over those, Ashley, in case.
Sure. So every quarterly, there's a quarterly meeting that Deputy Chief Badencourt organizes with alder people and commanders in the Area 5 districts. In this meeting, Badencourt invited me to attend where alder people and Ricky Rivera and maybe 4 other south of Area 5 district commanders, their districts. So Ricky Rivera, the commander, reported around shootings where they were down 33% this year. So last year there was 15 and now they're down to 10. Is that in a month?
That is within the year.
Within the year, and this was 2
But-
months ago.
But actually, it's not. There was actually more. I'll give you the exact stats. That was
Mhm.
within that, I'm sorry, that was
No,
actually
it's okay.
that particular, that half of the year.
That half of the year.
Mhm.
So in that half of the year, what was 2 months ago? Sorry.
September?
Yeah, in September, from September of last year, there was 15 shootings, and this year there's 10, so they're down 33%. Burglaries are down 32%. Robberies are down 39%. So last year there was 108, and this year is 66. And vehicle thefts are down 45%. These are pretty high. So last year there was 352 vehicle thefts, and this year there's 192. But there's a pattern where crime is going down, which is always good to hear. And this is a result of definitely collaborative work between older people, police, the police district, and CVI organizations, so community violence interrupters, who are out in the streets, making relationships with youth, at-risk youth, and they're bringing people who were recently released from incarceration, and they're bringing them into the community and into society, and making strong relationships with youth, which is really important. Do you have any other details on why crime is going
You know,
down?
we work with a lot of different organizations. A lot of them are peacekeeping organizations such as Builder also. A lot of those individuals and organizations are former gang members that, you know, they've gone through specialized training and now they're assisting the police. So I have a really progressive approach that I leave not one stone unturned. I like to be at all the community meetings.
Mhm.
I'm always available, and not only are those organizations that are in the street in real time, I've done a lot, and I'm kind of in the forefront of dealing with a lot of the problems that we're having with ICE, right? So what I brought today was the Trust Act and the Welcome City Ordinance that I'm going to leave here. We're bound by these, so you know. So CPD, we do not conduct any type of immigration enforcement. We don't even ask anyone regarding their immigration status. That's something we have never done, and because of these acts, because of this ordinance, we never will. That's good to know, because I know there was some questions that were risen regarding, was it convoys or people following ICE agents?
Yeah, so in the community, for rapid response members, people follow ICE to let the community know where they are, and so people can be safe and go indoors. And recently, there's been anger around CPD stopping rapid responders while they're following ICE, because it seems that CPD is, in a way, collaborating and keeping ICE safe rather than the community safe.
So our job is to be neutral, right? But that being said, our main purpose is the safety of all people in Chicago. That being said, they are a law enforcement entity, and people have used lethal force, which is ramming into their cars. Right? They've done this repeatedly. I'm not sure who decided that was a good tactic, but that's actually using lethal force against a federal agent. At that point, our hands are crossed. We have to get involved, because we have to protect them, just like we have to protect our people in Chicago. So now we're caught in between. Is it collaboration? No, but we can't stand by while they're getting hurt, they're getting injured, they're getting attacked. Just like we wouldn't stand idle as any of our people in Chicago are getting hurt or attacked. We document everything. And one thing that I spoke with actually David recently about, if you feel you have a complaint or there's any type of excessive force from ICE, they have websites. And just like you make a complaint against Chicago and you go through the means of COPA and BIA, they have their equal of COPA or BIA. What they are, I can't tell you, because I've never really been on an ICE website, because like I said, we're a completely separate entity. I can't tell you what their use of force is, because it's a completely different entity. But there are going to be instructions on those websites that will guide you as to how to make a complaint against ICE agents, right? What we do is, if we get on scene, we document everything. We interview anyone that's on scene. We mention the tear gas. We mention the incident. We mention if there was any injuries. We make sure you get medical attention. We're first and foremost, but it's all documented. We'll provide you that report number, so when you do make your formal complaint to that federal agency, You have our documentation, you have our report number to be able to assist you with that complaint. Now, as far as, one more thing I want to add. As far as being able to identify Chicago. Chicago has a Chicago flag, right? So we look for Chicago flag. We have municipal plates, MP plates that say Illinois on there. That's very important because there's a lot of confusion with that. It's actually rather simple when you think about it. We do not have it. You can see my uniform. You'll see Chicago in two places. You're going to see it on a patch. Mine is gold, but most officers have a blue one. It's going to say Chicago. You're going to see the Chicago patch. No one else but Chicago police are going to have this patch. The only officers currently that are in plain clothes that are Chicago police officers are from the Bureau of Counterterrorism. Now, a lot of times they're conducting enforcement when it comes down to long-term or maybe even mid-term operations. So those are basically undercovers, are assisted. Those officers are the ones that you may see still in the hoodie clothes, but they're gonna have a star. Federal entities, they use a shield, they use a star. You're gonna see, and I'm breaking it down so you guys understand and you could kind of pass on to people that you put on social media so they could understand. It's a lot easier. You're gonna see a last name and you're gonna see a district, because we work in districts. Federal entities will not have that. They will have, basically, I'm not sure what the policy as far as identifiers. I know there's something, through some litigation with a judge, they're gonna be forced to have some sort of identifier. But we have to, it's policy and procedure, we have to have identifiers. As a commander, if I go to the street and I see that my officers do not have these identifiers, I quickly reprimand them, and then I conduct some sort of infraction report, or they get suspended, whatever it may be. I make sure, but this is something that we are gonna have. One thing with Chicago, if you approach a Chicago police officer and you ask them for a star number and information, we're gonna give it to you, because that's in our policy. We have to provide it to the citizens of Chicago, whether you wanna make a complaint or whatever it may be. Federal agencies, they may not, so right there, right then and there, you know there's a difference. All I say is that if you do want to ask a police officer regarding where they're from, who they are, you may want to wait till they're done, maybe conduct, step back, and you'll see the opportune time to go ahead and do that. Any other questions?
How do we get a copy of the police report?
As far as if you make one with, so you're going to get a police, you're going to get a number, a report number, and then you can request a report.
Where do we do that?
Well, you could do that one of two ways. I mean, if we're on scene, we're gonna do the report on scene. If it's something that's happened to you and you wanna come into the district and make a report, then you can come make the report number. We'll provide the report number out in the district. No, you.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I know there's a mandate by like the federal judge that ICE has to wear an identifier with a picture or their name. And if ICE isn't following that rule and a community member is scared that they're being kidnapped by a stranger, and they call CPD, what does that interaction look like?
Well, we're gonna actually get on scene and investigate whether that's an official ICE agent or not.
And if they're not wearing an identifier,
Now, if they're wearing identifiers, what you could do is you could, like I said, you could look up, you're gonna get a report, right? Something's gonna be documented that at that time you felt fear. And what we do is provide your report number, and then you make your formal complaint with ICE. But what you have to understand is, I don't exactly know what their policy is regarding that just yet. I know it's going through a judge, but we don't have a timeline as to when it's actually gonna be official, right?
Can I just ask a clarifying question to that? When you go and ask, say you're called on to scene, and you ask, someone who is either a federal agent or posing as one, what do you kind of ask them, and how do you confirm whether or not they are a
Hello,
federal
we're
agent?
Chicago Police. We want to make sure that you're here. What are you doing? We're conducting an investigation. What is going on?
But do
Because if you
they
call-
give you their badge number?
They don't have to give it to, they are not forced to provide it to me. But some form of identification, right? So I need to get some form of identification. The thing with that is that I'm there to make sure that this is not someone impersonating an agent or police officer trying to kidnap me. Because that's another problem we're having, and I'm gonna be very honest with you, it's a problem for us as well. Anyone could pose as an ICE agent out here, say they're ICE, and then try to kidnap you. So we're gonna get involved. We're gonna find out who they are. Now, once I find out they're an ICE agent, they're actually conducting an investigation, we can't impede their investigation, right? Because that's something we can't do.
do you report interactions that you have with ICE to someone above, so that there's a report of, hey, someone was called, you know, CPD was called and they confirmed or denied?
If they use tear gas, any of their actions in the street that put anyone in any type of danger, it's all documented.
But only in that situation, not if you're just called.
Well, if they're just present and they're conducting, some sort of enforcement, right, it's not for us to report. But, being a commander, I'm sure that if anyone's conducting an investigation, there should be some sort of record of events, some sort of event number, that they're actually in an area conducting an investigation. So if you go to the website and say, for instance, something happened that you felt threatened, or whatever it may be, you wanna make that complaint, that there should be a log as to where they were and at what time and place they were. I wish I could give you more information tonight, but like I said, they're separate entities, they do not share a lot of information with CPD. Another question was brought up is, do we know when they're conducting enforcement? We do not. We do not. Many times, we actually have citizens call us, people call us in the station and let us know, Commander, there's something going on in Fullerton and Sacramento, is there any type of enforcement? At that point is where we further investigate. And if I get that information, we're very open about that. We're like, yes, there's some sort of immigration enforcement being conducted.
Do you share that out with community, or?
Well, if we have the information and anyone calls the station and we have that info, we'll share it. But we're never gonna know ahead of time. The enforcement's usually conducted and then we know that they're on scene.
If you wanted to file a complaint against, like how you were saying, against ICE, if they don't provide identification, is there something you recommend to being able to try and identify the situation in the moment so that the person would be ultimately wrong?
So I know through the process, Chicago, I'm not sure exactly what tools they have or resources they have to conduct investigation, but as a commander, I investigate my own police officers. So if I get a complaint that there was an officer who conducted a stop, let's say, again, Fullerton and Sacramento, at this time, date, and place, I start with GPS. I start looking at rosters, and we put event numbers for everything that we do. For every traffic stop we do, there should be an event number. I have camera, body-worn camera, and now from my understanding, there's some sort of litigation that they're going to be forced to with cameras as well.
Yeah.
So maybe you can't do that right now, but I'm sure that with the body-worn cameras and with the identifiers, they're actually learning a lesson from the way we do things here in Chicago. Yes. So I thought you had a question.
Sorry. You know, I heard you earlier. I was doing a little, you know, talking about how anybody, you know, assaults anybody, that can become CPD's business. You talked about cars ramming. What if? What's your view if there's a community member who, say, is following somebody that might be an ICE agent, just to monitor, you know, for safety? Do you have any opinion on the legality of community members following at a safe distance?
I really don't have an opinion on it. I'm sure there's just have to be smart, right? There's some common sense that comes out to this. If you have a federal agent they have completely different use of force policy, they feel they're getting tailed and they feel that they're in danger, you're actually falling into their use of force policy. Because now you may pose a threat, right? How would we do it? Actually, we would place a stop on the vehicle and we would further investigate. How they would investigate it, I really can't tell you. All I'm saying is that I want whoever, and I respect the fact that you want to be able to identify and let people know that there is some sort of ICE activity, but now we have to be safe about your own safety, right? Because if you pose a threat, these could go bad.
So, sorry, did you say that that CPD will stop vehicles if they believe?
If we get a call and ICE agents feel that they're being threatened or they may be under attack, yes, we will conduct an investigation.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think that's important clarification, because obviously there's a very big difference between if a car has made contact with another car versus if that hasn't happened.
It's going to be a call to us, right? So
Yeah.
we're going to find out what exactly is happening if we get on scene and investigate. But our job, like I said, is the safety of both sides. This is where CPD is in a very different situation than we've ever been in. We're not choosing one side or the other. We're neutral in this situation, but we have to investigate because we don't want any injuries. We don't want any misunderstandings one way or the other. So we are playing the role of peacekeeper when it comes down to this type of activity, when it comes down to immigration enforcement. We are the peacekeepers.
Just really quick, just for an instance, there's been many documented cases where it's actually ICE ramming into cars and into community members and not rapid response people, and there's been a couple documentations where ICE actually shot community members, and their story doesn't align with what video captures and what other witnesses saw. So in that case, as you would investigate community who is tailing ICE and they feel unsafe, would you investigate ICE as well?
We do not investigate ICE, but that's why I tell you there's the website, you reach out. What's gonna happen is it's gonna get documented, right? Pretty soon they should have their videos. All that's gonna be used, and I'm gonna just use Chicago Police as an example. If we have a bad shoot, we strip that officer immediately from his weapon. He's no longer able to work the streets. He's actually gonna probably go to no pace test if we feel that it's a bad shoot. They're gonna get investigated. We bring in BIA, we bring in COPA. It's a full investigation. And he's not investigated by his immediate supervisors. He's investigated by a different oversight, so that there isn't any misunderstanding, or we can't say that we're using, you know, our leverage as a CPD to assist that person, right? So how does ICE investigate their own? I really can't tell you exactly how their investigation process. But if it would be smart, they should have their own BIA, their form of COPA, that they go in there, maybe sit the officer down, review the video, take witness statements, and then investigate it appropriately. Yeah, but we don't investigate ICE. They're their own entity within themselves. So CPD, sometimes we have to arrest our own police officers. That's just how it happens. Yes.
I have a clarifying question. So, if you were to get a call from ICE, if they're feeling threatened by little old me on a bicycle with a whistle, following at a half a block distance, and you approach me, and you approaching me means I can't keep my community safe because they're trying to lose me. And we all know they're taking street vendors and nannies and landscapers, and I'm going to get upset. What is your authority over me, if you think that I'm the person that they called in as being a threat for being little me on my bike with a whistle?
So CPD, we're very common sense. We work with the community all the time, because we're not federal agents. The reason that we work with the community all the time is because we know we can't make Chicago better unless we work together. So we have a different approach to how we're gonna investigate. We're not gonna grab you, we're not gonna slam you to the ground. We're gonna get into, excuse me, man, can you explain to me what's going on? Well, I'm here with a whistle, and I'm letting individuals know when ICE is in the area. Okay, that's fine, because you have the right to do that.
And then may I say, am I free to leave and then continue?
Absolutely.
And you're
If
Commander Ricky Rivera, so when they ask me, I
no,
can say.
if we even respond to that,
Yeah.
because there really is no necessity from our part to respond to the fact that someone has a whistle and they're blowing the whistle.
Well, the latest thing that I've heard is CPD was called and pulled over a rapid responder for running a stop sign, which was not truthful. And so what my guess is, of course I'm guessing, is that ICE called in a false report of someone doing a traffic stop, so you were obliged to pull that person over, and therefore they were able to adopt another one of our community members. So I on a bicycle am on less risk, but I think it's important we understand how to react with you as quickly as possible, since we're the only ones who can protect our community, since you aren't able to interfere with us.
So,
We are the peacekeepers.
so
right?
as a peacekeeper, I also ask peacekeepers to use common sense. If you're running a stop sign,
But I'm saying she was not. I'm saying ICE used that as a pretext to call you to pull this person.
so you have to understand, ICE doesn't necessarily call us. They don't call 911, I need help. They call in other ICE agents. At some point, they notify CPID, and we get information that ICE may need assistance in a particular area. Because ICE, their own entity. But when I find out through CPID that there may be a problem, or there may be some threats towards ICE, right? They're asking us to get into on scene just to ensure.
That's in the acronym. Could you give me the acronym?
Which one?
C.
CPID. That's the Crime Prevention and Intervention Center.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Commander Rivera. We appreciate your attendance as always, and we appreciate the insight that you provided.
Absolutely, and I just want to finish one more thing. I'm very common sense, and I'm very patient. A lot of this, when it comes down to immigration, how you respond to ICE agents, it is common sense. But you know what, I'm sorry, you had a question, can I?
Yeah, just real quick, so in kind of a similar vein, so if you are brought to the scene where an ICE agent is feeling threatened, so in a typical interaction when someone files a report of feeling threatened, you have to interview both sides, right? You have to gather a report. Is ICE involved at all in the information gathering component, or do they leave the scene while you just talk with, say, the person on the bicycle or the person who was pursuing ICE?
We don't collaborate at all with ICE, and you know what, and maybe feeling threatened was a bad use of words, because usually we get on scene when ICE has actually already been battered or attacked.
Got it.
Got it, so that was a bad use of words, right? Because if they call us that they're being threatened, we're not gonna respond to that, right? Now, if we get called to the fact that there's a threat that's imminent, or they've been attacked, that's when we're gonna get involved. And simply what we get involved is we're not making the arrest, we get on the scene, we secure the scene, we separate, crowd form, we make sure everyone's safe on both sides. As we can see, we've been tear gassed as we've held some of these lines as well, because they have their own procedures, they have their own tactics. I'm not gonna say one way or the other, because my job is to remain neutral, I have my personal beliefs, but as a commander, I remain neutral, correct? So, but we use common sense. Here in Chicago, we're gonna work with the community. We're not gonna be here Monday through Friday, leave. We have to build these relationships with the community. We want to sustain them. So we're gonna do whatever we can to maintain that peace. Okay, thank you so much. Have a safe weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander. All right, so thank you once again, Commander. We'll go ahead and get back into what edits that we may have for for September. We'll go through September first.
Oh, it looked good to me.
Say again?
It looked good.
Okay. This isn't a meeting that I attended, so I don't have any edits for this particular one.
I have, in district councilor member updates, in the very last one, it says, CCPSA took vote to set commission's position. I would add on traffic stop policy. And, David, or the votes can be found on the CCPSA website. I would ask, just to attach the votes as well. Or add the PDF.
A description of the votes, is that what you're referring to from the commission?
Yeah, or primarily just in the fourth vote, those for ending pretextual traffic stops, those against ending pretextual traffic stops. And then in I think there's a word is cut off, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines up from the bottom. It's attributed to David. I know that under Kim Fox, many cases were being thrown out, and that led to, well, I believe the word lawsuits should be there, and that's it.
You following on that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and any other edits for September?
Yes, sir.
All right, that being said, all in favor of, if there's, or no other edits, I have no issue. Councilor Vargas, do you have any issue with the edits that were made?
No, they sound good.
Okay, that being said, we'll go ahead and pass these without objection. Okay, October 4. I know this is always exciting, everybody. We're trying to get through these as quick as possible.
Yes, sir. In DC member updates, the 1, 2, 3, the fourth sentence in the third line, starting with Orlikoff read statement, from Alder Fuentes, I would like to attach or include the statement from Alder Fuentes, as well as in the fifth line, the statement from Mayor Johnson.
It might make it too long for the minute.
Oh.
I can type it.
Well, then we can. Yeah, yeah, or no, if that's possible, that would be fantastic. And in, the second to last sentence, Counselor also made community aware of incidents of ICE activity seen at Humboldt Health. I request to add a sentence, or a clause, quote, where he witnessed uniformed federal agents brandishing weapons and feared for his life.
By the way, I want to call everyone's attention now, and I want to thank our members of staff that joined us today for our staff support. Oswaldo Gomez, and in the back we have Nat Duran. Nat Duran is going to be more frequent around here, so please get to know Nat.
Oh, you got the quote? Okay, thank you. And then, sorry, last, if we can also include the presentation from Case somehow? Yes.
Do we have a link?
I can figure out.
We have the present, so I guess they're, our staff is gonna be able to upload it to the OneDrive. And
Okay.
share it to the link. Okay, thank you so much, staff.
All right, any objections to the edits proposed, or do you have any edits yourself, Counselor Vargas? No, all good? All right, I have no objections. That being said, we'll pass by unanimous consent. All right, and our special meeting, this is, I assure you, this is gonna be the quickest one we have.
I'm good with this one.
There's just the three of us, and it only took about 30 minutes. Any
I'm good
edits?
with that one.
Any edits on your end? All right, that being said, passes by unanimous consent. We're done with the minutes. We're all caught up, and the next ones we'll have to worry about is this meeting's minutes, but we'll make certain we review and get those straightened out before we waste anybody else's time. All right, that being said, we are now getting into District Councilor updates. You have a question? No, okay. Councilor Vargas, what say you?
Well, I gave my updates around the crime stats where Betancourt and the Commander Ricky Rivera gave statements about the crime report, the crime statistics from last year to this year. And my second announcement would be around the commission, the CCPSA commission. There's going to be 3 vacancies coming up. 2 youth applicants and 1 Northside commissioner are going to be up for, they're going to be up, and we're going to have to interview them, and we're going to have to take in applications, interview them, and then send a few names to the mayor, where he then chooses who sits on the commission. So Osvaldo, can you provide Osvaldo is our staff support for the nomination process. Would you mind providing us with the dates of when the application opens again?
Yeah,
please.
They voted on October 16th to open the application on Wednesday, January 7th, I believe it's a Wednesday, of 2026. So we'll send the advertisement material that you can see. I think, as Ashley mentioned, it's really important for your district because 2 Northsiders have to be selected and 2 young people ages 18 to 24 for this position. And the highest level of CPD policy, the superintendent search, the COPA hiring, those are all things that happen. If you say, those are all things that you directly have a decision-making power over if you're on the commission. So it's quite a powerful position, but more info will come as we develop all those materials and stuff.
Yes, and it's a month-long application process, so we'll wait for a month to receive the applications, and then another month to review them and interview them, and then it'll be another month for the mayor to pick the names and for them to be transitioned into being a commissioner. And then my final update would be, back in July we had a meeting with the Area 5 Detective Commander where a lot of constituents from Area 5 called for his resignation because he's a danger to the public, because he has over 69 misconduct complaints, and BIA is low on sustaining misconduct complaints, which is another issue in and of itself. But the council held a no confidence vote for Area 5 Area 5 Detective Commander. At the meeting back in July, we pre-submitted questions where the detective commander didn't answer. So we've been waiting for CPD to respond to the pre-submitted questions since July. Once those are shared, I'll be able to email it out to the district. The questions revolve around what Ricky Rivera mentioned around the sexual assaults that happened in the beginning of the year, and why it took CPD so long to respond. And we wanted more information from the detective commander around that. And again, he didn't answer these questions in July, so we've been waiting for written response. That's all mine.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Vargas. Okay, we'll move on to Councilor Orlikoff. Take your time.
Thank you. I'll start to add on a little bit to the conversation we had with the commander. I did have a meeting with the commander a couple weeks ago, and they informed me today about some progress on a couple items. I had asked if they thought they would be able to post these rights signs, and they showed me pictures today of having them on their lawn and in the building. So I'm sure that as community members concerned with everything going on, we may not have liked everything that was said, but we do appreciate getting the clarity on those issues, and also I do appreciate that they also recognize that citizens or community members have rights, and those rights also should be respected. Though the way to do that is still in progress, I guess. In addition, I just very briefly started conversation with them about potentially removing the temporary chain link fencing that's in the front, which was put in about just a couple years ago, and to me makes it seem like a less welcoming or inviting place, and they said that they're looking into potentially getting rid of that. I don't have to explain anything related to ICE because you were able to speak directly and hear from him, which is wonderful. So I don't have to try to speak for him or paraphrase. And yeah, a couple other things. I have a sign in the, we had the Chicago Appleseed Center for Fair Courts speak at a previous meeting, and there's an event that they're contributing to on November 12th. It'll be at Grace Place at 637 South Dearborn, and this is like a teach-in workshop about the policy changes from the Cook County State's Attorney, Chief Prosecutor Eileen O'Neill Burke, relating to the felony review process, as well as what was the other one? As well as maintaining disclosure lists of officers that may have records indicating a lack of reliability in courts. So two change. The Cook County State's Attorney is relatively new and has made a couple new policies, including changes to how felonies are reviewed by the state's attorney before those charges go forward, and also how they present defense with information about if an officer complaining against their client might have been found untrustworthy in the past for some reason. So if you'd like to find out more about that, you can definitely head to this event, or you can try to talk to me later. Sorry, I don't want to take up too much time with this. It was the focus of the previous meeting. Thank you so much. Also, I put a link up on the board behind me, which is tinyurl.com/ChicagoTRO. I tested, it does work with either in caps or not caps for the Chicago TRO. That is the official form to submit any violations. Not an official ICE agency form, the official form for the lawyers that are monitoring and advocating for Chicago and our rights. If you believe there are any violations of the judge's orders, such as using chemical weapons or not having body cameras, trying to make detentions without warrants, etc., this is where you can submit TRO violations. And there are also some posters, some flyers on the table that came a little bit later that you might not have seen at the beginning with the same information. Lastly, there's lots of materials related to Ice Watch stuff, or to people's rights. Today, from ICER, we have lawn signs as well as window signs and palm cards. We also have another form of palm cards with Know Your Rights information and the number for the ICER hotline. There's also whistles that people have been packing with information as well, and salute flyers in bilingual language. Let's leave it at that, because I'm also excited for the guest speaker we have today.
All right, well, thank you, Councilor Orlikoff.
Thank you.
I'll be very brief with my updates. What I've been up to the past month, as I mentioned last month, we had the community conversations, which helps us build a district strategic plan. That meeting was held on the 10th at the VFW post, and we've got one more coming up Monday. So if you've got some time available for you with you on Monday, strongly recommend you attend this. They are looking to get all input from everybody. If you think they're doing a bad job, they want to hear you say it. That's going to be at Morella's, which is at 2056 West Division. I should be in attendance there as well. I think it's always a constructive conversation to find out where the differences are and how we can make things better. If we don't talk,
A week from Monday.
A week from Monday, you're right. I forgot, we're at the first of the month. So Monday, November 10, just so we're clear. And that starts at 6:30 p.m. at Morella's, 2056 West Division. I met with the commander as well earlier this week, and we discussed many items, long overdue, and hopefully the next one won't be as infrequent as this one was. But we talked a lot about public safety and accountability, our approaches to how we achieve that goal, and how we can all work together and collaborate. As my co-counselor had mentioned, collaboration is the key here. I also sat down with my co-counselors earlier this month, and we had a special meeting, more administrative, which focused on getting through the backlog of minutes. Trust me, there was 3 other months that we didn't cover beforehand. But more importantly, and what this means to our community, is we went over the 2026 calendar. So this is a draft of the calendar. A lot of compromises made and a lot of back and forth, but I think we came to a very good decision. It's going to primarily stay with the same battle rhythm of first Saturday of the month, 1 p.m. at the libraries, and a rotation that we have. With one exception, we're going to look at, we agreed to June, July, and August, the summer months, to hold an evening on the first Thursday of the month, with an exception there as well. So I'll caveat to that in just a moment. But the item that we run against into that is that the libraries aren't usually open at 6 p.m. So we're looking for alternate locations. So if we do move forward with that plan, we want to make certain that we're accessible to everybody. So that's currently TBD, and this is a draft, like I said. Reason why I'm bringing it to your attention is we're going to vote on this next month. We want your input. We want to make certain that we're accommodating and we're accessible to all that intend to join our meetings. And with that, I think we are done with the updates. We are. All right, so we will move on into discussions. You want to go ahead and introduce our guests?
I would love to. Today we're going to have a sorry? Oh, I'm so sorry. We're having a presentation from the Chicago Committee on Immigrant and Refugee Rights. And what was the, sorry. Right, sorry. We have Diana here as well as Sanji?
Pooja.
Sorry, Pooja. Pooja and Diana here. And they're going to be speaking as well as showing a few slides and then answering questions. And so this is a committee that works in city council and also helps spread a lot of information to the community. And please give them your attention. Thank you. Do we need to get
Do you want to take seats here? Or?
We'll stand, right?
Do you need any chairs?
Yeah, you can do either.
No, either one. We'll stand.
Okay.
We'll stand from here. I'll just.
Well, thank
Good
you again.
afternoon.
My name is Pooja Ravindran. I use they, them pronouns. I'm the Chief of Staff for the City of Chicago's Committee on Immigrant and Refugee Rights. And this is Diana. I'll let Diana say
Hi,
hi.
good afternoon. My name is Diana Perez. I'm the Community Engagement for the Committee on Immigrants and Refugee Rights.
you'll go to the next slide, just a little bit about what the committee is and how we as staff are part of the sort of administrative function of this committee. So our boss is Alderperson Andre Vasquez of the 40th Ward, Lincoln Square, Andersonville area, and he was appointed as the chair of this committee. There are about 30 or so standing committees at City Council, and they have all sorts of jurisdictions. So you might have heard about the Committee on Zoning and Land Use. There's also the Committee on Transportation and Public Way that, again, have those jurisdictions. This jurisdiction is about, per the municipal code, the jurisdiction is about the health and welfare of first and second generation immigrants in Chicago. That's the sort of purview. And there are 13 other alders besides Chair Vasquez who sit on the Committee on Immigrant Refugee Rights. And you'll see "Sir" over and over again in this presentation. That's the committee that we're talking about. So there are 13 other alders who sit on the committee. Just a quick 101 on how legislation is introduced and passed at City Council. So an alder has to, or a group of alders, introduce an ordinance to full City Council during a City Council meeting. It is then referred to either a joint committee or a singular committee based on its jurisdiction. And then the committee has to pass it by a simple majority vote. In this case, it needs at least 8 votes to move past the Immigrant and Refugee Rights Committee. And then it refers back to the full City Council. And the full City Council is made up of 50 alders. And so a simple majority, 26 alders, need to pass something. If it's a veto-proof majority, you have to have 32, which is 2/3, I believe. We've got 3 staffers, just want to note. People are like, you got a lot of work to do. Why aren't you everywhere all the time? Our budget was slashed and we only have 3 staffers. So just being candid about where we're at. We've got another, it's 2 of us as staffers, and we've got another comms and policy person. So that's it on that. We're kind of going to do like a hybrid know your rights and also policy, landscape, immigration overview type thing. So I just want to first talk about who in here feels like they're a super expert on federal immigration. Cool. Okay. I would eliminate this if you all were, right? So you might hear people talk about ICE all the time, right? That is a subdivision of the Department of Homeland Security right here, right? Just like ICE, there are so many subdivisions of Department of Homeland Security and external to that that have been acting and deputized by the federal administration as immigration enforcement officers. So you might hear CBP, Customs and Border Protection, EOIR, Executive Office of Immigration Review. They generally stay at the courts, but we know that there's some arrests at the court and immigration enforcement happening at the courts as well, the federal immigration courts. And then typically you've got FBI, DEA, which is the Drug Enforcement Agency, ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, separate agencies that have their own purview. As you might have heard in the news, Trump has sort of deputized them to perform immigration officers. So we know that in the budget bill that was passed federally, ICE has about 10 times the amount of funding that they had before. They are equal to, and in case have more funding than militaries of some countries. In addition to that, right, so the hidden costs of what you might not see in the ICE or DHS line items is this deputization of other federal agencies too. So just want to be clear. We recently had heard that because DHS has a quota system, and that's part of why they are just willy-nilly detaining folks, even if majority of the time they don't have a criminal record. They're arresting folks with legal permanent residency or green card status, and they're detaining and arresting citizens as well. Why is that? Diana will get into it later, but they're called collateral arrests, and it's because they have quotas that they need to meet, or they might get reprimanded or fired or X, Y, and Z repercussions with their bosses. So we have heard recently that the ICE operation here may be replaced with not just sort of your ICE officers, but the Customs and Border Patrol officers that, again, are around the border usually, but they have been seen to use way more aggressive tactics. So like the tear gas, so Bovino, right, comes from Customs and Border Protection, not ICE. And so you may see escalations in the Chicagoland area because they have not been able to meet their quotas. Next slide. I'm gonna take questions at the end if that's okay. Okay. This is me, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So just a quick update on the norms that the federal administration has changed. We talked about the deputization of other agents. They have rapidly expanded detention and deportation infrastructure as a whole. And you may have heard about this deportations to other third-party countries. Again, this is like the first time in history that this is happening. People are being, even if they are nationals of El Salvador, for example, we have heard recently that some Salvadoran folks have been sent to Ghana, for example, and then there's no oversight at all that DHS has or wants to have around if they are processed, if they are taken care of in those third-party countries. So that's just a couple of examples of that. I also want to say they are just kind of violating constitutional rights as they please, and they're testing the limits of how the public will react and how other electeds and locals will react to this normalization of violation of constitutional rights. They're also violating court orders. And what we're seeing is that because Trump now has appointed a couple of folks to the Supreme Court, and they are appealing a lot of decisions or sending a lot of court cases to the Supreme Court of the U.S. SCOTUS, they end up ruling in the favor of the Trump administration in many things, and many immigration items have gone to them. So a couple of examples of that. Commander Rivera was talking about the fact that because of litigation, there are now requirements from the temporary restraining order, that's what TRO stands for, because some folks from Chicago have taken DHS to court and said, hey, you're violating our First Amendment. They are now in court proceedings, and so the judge there is saying, hey, looks like you keep violating what we have said that you need to do. And so there was an attempt by the judge to impose restrictions on them. They are violating those as well, right? So this is, you can say in theory, they should be doing this, they should be doing that, but a lot of times they continue to violate those court orders. And this is one way for one of the court cases that you can submit evidence of violations. The governor also recently created a portal where you can submit evidence of wrongdoing, because their stated goal is that they want to, after this administration has gone and there's turnover, if there's a Democrat in power, they want to be able to go through all this evidence and potentially charge officers for their wrongdoings. But they can't do that now, but they need to collect evidence for that. So, yeah, next slide, please.
All right, so based on what we just shared, right, all the agencies that are out there, not only in Chicago, but across our country, arresting or kidnapping people, who is arrested, right? Who is arrested on January 20th? So basically anyone that came in the past 2 years through a port of entry in the United States, meaning, right, through, let's say, El Paso, right, or California, San Diego, you name it. Anyone that has been here in the United States less than the past 2 years are at risk. Anyone that doesn't have any lawful status, right? So it could be someone that has been here for many years in the United States that also at risk. And anyone that has a pending asylum or a valid work permit. In addition to that is anyone that has committed any minor crimes in the United States that has been here all these years. Anyone that had like a pending deportation proceedings from before and that person didn't left, right? So those are the people that are at risk right now. And going back to what it was just said, right? Pooja mentioned as well that even permanent residents have been arrested. Even USA citizens have been arrested. And those, why they were arrested, sometimes it's racial profile that we have been seeing, not only in Chicago, but we also saw that in LA, right? And in Washington. So obviously this is the way people, they're targeting our community right now. And obviously anyone that has anything, any criminal arrest or anyone that has been here for so many years, they're like obviously a risk of being detained. So in the past month, I would say, we have been also meeting, the next slide, sorry. In the past month, the committee has also been meeting with city council members, organizations from LA and DC, because we wanted to learn, right? They already went through having the National Guard or experiencing first ICE, right? ICE in their community, so we wanted to learn from them. And how can we also prepare ourselves, right? So obviously some of the trends that we saw is that they were targeting Black and brown communities and in neighborhoods, right? In LA, obviously we saw in the news like they were kidnapping or detaining people in their car wash, right? Street vendors, also like people in their home going into Home Depots, right? Or just like Labor Day workers, as we've seen in Chicago. In addition to that, we saw that they were going into churches, parks, schools. In Washington, they were also targeting drivers, let's say like Uber drivers, right? Things like that. Also going and detaining people in Black neighborhoods or people just been arrested for lower offenses. And in Chicago, I think we have seen a similar trend, right? Where most of the people that has been detained are like our essential everyday workers who are out there in the streets, people walking in the street that they think that person, because of their color of street, is in here unlawfully, right? And those are some of the trends that we're seeing today. Obviously, we're seeing that they're also going into parking lots, right? To kind of like strategize beforehand how they're gonna go about it, in that area, in that neighborhood, right? So they use bigger spaces to kind of like strategize in like parking lots or target cemeteries. Recently as well, we saw that, right? And O'Hare has been a huge target recently, going back into and arresting people who are Uber drivers. So recently, we got this data from the Resurrection Project that has been getting a lot of referrals, right? Based on people that need legal assistance once they're detained. So that number, 1,470, most likely has increased, right? But that's one of the data that we were able to receive. So at least since January to July, and maybe it has increased since we're already in the fall, 1,470 people has been arrested, right? In Illinois. Majority of them are from Mexico, Venezuela, second to that, Guatemala, Colombia, and Ecuador. Most likely, as of today, more than 22 arrests has been collateral arrest, right? An illegal arrest by the judge, right? So this is just some of the data that we were able to receive based on TRP. And as you notice, 735 are mostly male. There's a few female, but the majority are male detained here in Illinois. And
So, Commander Rivera talked about the Welcoming City Ordinance and the Trust Act. I won't get too much into it besides, I think, and here's where I think we have evidence-based disagreement with, I think, how CPD sees that they are bound by these laws. Like, we have seen instances where they have in fact been colluding and collaborating with DHS. There are some specific I don't want to say, well, I'll say loopholes. As he mentioned, the sort of CPIC, the crime prevention centers, infusion centers. There's also this notion of, anytime there's potentially an altercation, CPD sees its role as a crowd controller, right? And so they may use that crowd control to, in fact, actually support, I'm not going to use the word assist, right, because CPD maintains they don't assist, and that may be true, but if they're coming into function as a crowd controller in a situation where rapid response is happening, that is a kind of a de facto loophole to some of this codification of CPD and local law enforcement agents not being able to actually support immigration enforcement efforts. There's also a loophole that we've seen, which is the sort of like joint terrorism task force loophole. So CPD might say, oh, we think that there's like a domestic terrorist here, or there may be terrorist activities happening here, and so they feel compelled to be present and maybe take some actions in those situations. So we're hoping that district councilors, CCPSA, are willing to sort of help us gather the data and provide some affirmative solutions for actually the spirit of the ordinance is only is only dictated by how much we can actually enforce it and move through with it. Just the fact that we have ordinances on the books and general orders on the books, that just assumes a world where everyone is complying 100% with that, and we know that that's not true with evidence-based investigations that we have personally been a part of. Just to talk about, the next slide is kind of our piece in how we've been legislating and doing policy, but I want to go over some of the things that the mayor has been a part of and done executive orders around. The first one is the executive order, which was the denouncement of any attempts to deploy the U.S. Armed Forces and National Guard. What it did was prohibit local law enforcement from wearing masks and requiring them to display ID. Again, many of these already fall into the general order of CPD, so there's nothing really new here. That's kind of like a restatement of those things. The mask prohibition is, I think, a new thing because there was some confusion about post-COVID, can officers wear masks? And there's still religious exceptions and sickness exemptions to this, but in general, it kind of clarified that. It also required local law enforcement to wear and activate body cameras during any law enforcement activities that involve the public. Again, something that is already a general order, not a new thing, but just a restatement. The second executive order is protecting the right to protest. It reaffirmed the city's commitment to ensuring public protest remains a vital and protected part of civic life in the city of Chicago. I mentioned, again, I think some issues that we still have with the crowd control and the terrorism framework that CPD uses while doing right to protest, First Amendment protections. And there's actually a general order. I don't know how much y'all have looked at the CCPSA and the 14th district. How can you go through those general orders and special orders that the CPD has to make sure that we're actually following through with the spirit of it and it's not just a law on the books? The last one, that was the most recent one, is the ice-free zones one. So again, it clarified that immigration enforcement cannot be done, or staging and planning cannot be done at city lots. And it also issued, I think they spent some money to issue some voluntary signs for businesses to put up signs that say, hey, we're an ice-free zone. Again, we want to be clear that while these are statements of value, they're not really doing anything to enforce. At the same day that the mayor sort of came out with the statement, CPD Superintendent Snelling got on the mic and said, hey, we're not going to be able to enforce any of these executive orders. So we should all be clear about what is possible from an enforcement perspective and how we need to push our government to take some of these laws and executive orders seriously. And then the last thing I'll say, the thing that the city of Chicago, I commend the Corporation Counsel, Mary Richardson Lowry, and the mayor on, is that they have supported and in some instances filed their own lawsuits against DHS and the Trump administration for other things, but in the immigration realm, they have been part of lawsuits that aim to challenge some of these constitutional violations. So we'll be looking to how those play out in court, just like this one. So some of the things that we have done, I won't go into the resolutions. The resolutions are usually just statements of value. Again, something that I want to highlight is this CPD and DHS potential collusion order. So on June 4th of this past year, there was maybe our first super pronounced incident of CPD potentially colluding with Homeland Security on immigration enforcement. And our boss happened to be on the scene after being alerted by immigration advocacy organizations. And we, collected a bunch of evidence, we submitted it, and we said, oh, okay, welcoming city ordinance exists, right? So an investigation will start happening, no problem, because we want to make sure that there was no collusion. What actually ended up happening is that we reached out to COPA and the Office of the Inspector General, which are the two bodies that in the municipal code of the ordinance that says they're supposed to be the ones who are investigating the instances of violations of the welcoming city ordinance. They both kind of just said, oh, this is not our jurisdiction, what does that mean? That means that no investigation occurred, right? So again, the enforcement of the laws on the books, are they actually getting followed? And so we tried to basically shake a bunch of data from CPD and the mayor's office and the other public safety agencies at the city to get that. So we got body camera footage, we got, there are little modules in CPD vehicles that have like texts on them. We got police radio, and there's a pretty clear evidence in those things that you can find on our website that there was collusion. You have some police officers saying like, hey, we gotta help these guys even if we're not supposed, like literally someone says that on a police radio that you can listen to here. So just wanna say that. And we have then sort of basically aimed to introduce an ordinance that clarifies who is responsible for investigating and what is the trigger for an investigation to occur, because it was clear that people were not on the same page around that. We need your support, and we need this community support to get this put on an agenda, because without sort of support of folks, the chair of the committee or alders aren't really going to take an interest in some of these things. So we'll provide this to CCPSA and the 14th District Council, the couple of things that we are really hoping to get passed, so at least we can hold our city departments to as account as we possibly can in this moment. So I'll say, that's all I'll say about that.
So based on the work that we, the committee and that the city is doing, obviously, it's still we're seeing like every day there's people being detained from left to right, right? I think it's still important that people know their rights. I know that we're seeing ICE agents literally just kidnapping people without really showing their warrants, right? Showing those warrants that shows that that's the person that they are arresting or looking for. It still is important to know, right? Like if someone gets arrested or if you witness someone being arrested, that they remain calm, right? That they don't share any information. I think yes, they could ask, you have a warrant, but we're seeing that they're not showing anything, but it still remain silent, don't sign anything, right? Because like once you say something, you know, they're gonna use it against you, right? Remain silent and don't sign any documents. Remember, people have the right to call an attorney. And it's very important, still even though they're not showing those warrants, to know the difference between a warrant and a judicial, right, administrative warrant. So even if they come to your home, your workplace, or in your car, or you name it, they have to show a warrant. And that one is signed by a judge, right? And it will show the person's name, who they're looking for, and all those details. So it's extremely important that even though if they come to your house or anything like that, I know probably you're like, well, they're not doing it. Well, again, people are documenting those things, right? And that will help you, again, for litigation and to fight your case, that they are probably arresting the wrong person and they will go against them, not against the person. So again, it's extremely important to know your rights, remain silent, don't sign anything, and you have the right to an attorney. And another thing that we tell people when we do the Know Your Rights training is like, don't carry any foreign document from your own country, like your matricula. I don't know if you guys are familiar. People from other countries can carry matriculas or your passport, because if you show that to an ICE agent, guess what? They already know where you're from. So here in the state of Illinois, they passed the driving license, right? The TVDL now is a standard driving license. So anyone in this state can get a driving license in the state ID instead of carrying a matricula. And okay, that's how do we prepare and respond? So basically, our committee, when someone is detained, right? So when someone is detained, probably you have heard about it. It's like you could either, when someone is detained, you gotta call the hotline number, right? Which I think probably some of you have seen this number in different places, as we have some posters in here. But in addition to that, we have the ICE locator. So the ICE locator is technically where you are able to find someone that is detained. But because of the number of people that have been detained, that number is not, you're not gonna find that person right away. They're not putting the people's information in that database today or tomorrow. So even you can still look for them, but for the ICE locator, you need their name, first name, last name, country of birth, and date of birth, right, to find them in the ICE locator. Or sometimes if you have the A number, the alien number, when someone is detained, they get a alien number. You could find them through that form. But in case, let's say, well, I went through the ICE locator, I cannot find them, guess what? You could also reach out to your congressman and your senator. So your congressman, which I think in this area has to be Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, and your two senators. Do you guys know who are your two senators at the federal level? Who? No?
Durbin and Duckworth.
Okay, all right, okay. Senator Durbin and Duckworth and Delia, every single congressional elected official can inquire on immigration cases. Any immigration case. So they could inquire with immigration to find out where this person is. But you will need, the family member will need the IDHS form 600-201, the privacy waiver. They need to sign it, right? So if you know someone that might be at risk of getting detained, I will get that form beforehand to get it signed. Be prepared, be ready. Have an attorney, talk to an attorney. So that way, beforehand, you have an attorney in place that is able to find you and fight your case. Another thing, we created this guide for immigration enforcement and detention support. So this guide kind of like shows you the step by step that you need, right? When you reach out to a congressional office to inquire, not only on a waiver detention, but also how can they also inquire on other immigration related cases. Like you have like a work permit that is not approved, but it's still pending. They could help you expedite those cases. And then, again, legal representation is very essential. You need an attorney. Consulates. You know that consulates of Mexico, Guatemala, Central America, South America are the only ones, or sometimes the only ones that are able to go into those detention centers to talk to their nationals. So when someone is detained that you know is from Mexico, guess who knows who will get that data first? The Consulate of Mexico, the Consulate of Colombia, or Guatemala, right? Or whatever country that person is from. Always reaching out to your consulate, they will know as well. They have access, some of them have access to the detention centers, and they will have access to talk to those folks. And as well, have a family plan, right? Like when people are detained, if you know someone that is detained or anything, it's important to have even if you're driving, have a plan, right? Leave a note in your car. Like, this is my emergency contact. It could be my wife, it could be my cousin, my coworker, right? Or your attorney. But also a plan, right, of your essential documents, right? Like if you have children or you have a property, right? It's important to have a plan. Who's gonna be in charge of your stuff in case someone is detained? And what else can we do at this moment, right? I think it's extremely important that we continue doing Know Your Rights training, right? For people to be more informed, especially for businesses, business corridor areas, right? Nonprofits, schools, also disseminate this type of information, right? So I see some of you here, there's information in here, but if you're walking around and then you see a landscaping company outside, why don't you go and talk to them? Even though, don't tell me I don't speak Spanish, because now we have our phones and we could Google Translate, right? If you see a construction worker, a street vendor, or someone selling tamales in the corner here in Logan Square or Humboldt Park, hey, here, let me give you this information, because you don't know if they already know or don't know, right? So going and walking into and talking to them and providing this information is very essential. Also canvassing at your business corridor areas. Not only, well, business corridor areas too, but like again, like if you see the street vendors, you see people outside, share that information and coordinate, right? Like maybe coordinate with your alder, reach out to your alder and see if they're doing canvassing, right? In their area to ensure that everyone has that information. And the committee, we have been hosting a lot of trainings, a lot of Know Your Rights from left to right across the city. We have been also organizing immigration briefings for nonprofits and institutions and affiliations, schools or universities, because it is important that not only to inform organizations that serve migrants, because they already know what is going on, but also it's important that other providers are up to date in terms of all the changes that are happening when it comes to immigration. So I'll pass it to you, Pooja.
So we're going to, Commander Rivera started doing this a little bit, but wanted to get a little bit more in detail around how to differentiate between potential, Department of Homeland Security, immigration enforcing officers, and Chicago Police Department officers. This is a bit of an abbreviated rapid response training, just so that folks kind of know what to look out for, because DHS has been active in Logan Square, Humboldt Park areas, and it does not feel like they are going to let up. And even if we may have some intelligence that they'll stop at the end of the year, they'll probably come back in full force in the spring, right? So now is the time to sort of get involved, start practicing that muscle of how you're going to identify and report any potential ICE activity. But we want to do so without causing panic. And we want to do so so that we don't overwhelm our lovely hotline here with unfounded ICE, DHS sightings and activity. So you might see some, on the top is sort of the DHS and deputized agencies, and the bottom is the Chicago Police Department folks. So I'll just start on the bottom here with the badges. You'll kind of see this star situation. It might be a patch like Commander Rivera had, or it might be a full-blown, what is the word for the thing that you pin, a button or whatever, on. There's also, you know, sort of a name tag and maybe like a flag patch you'll see. You can see the flag patch here, you can see it over here too. They are very much required to have their name and their badge on them. As we have seen in the past, CPD sometimes will not do that, or they may cover their badge, or they may not have it extremely visible. We want to make sure that we note that and we know the exact place to go and complain if that is happening over and over again. But typically they are going to have these visible. And then what's been confusing, these are examples of two like undercover CPD vehicles. We'll get into the vehicles that we have seen DHS using across the city. But you're typically seeing sort of like, you know, black, blue, silver, gray Ford Explorers. They also have some sedans. But if they've got those like municipal plates on them, and then obviously you may have seen the ones that are like, you know, Chicago Police Department, and they have the red, white, and blue sort of Chicago stars on it. So again, these are not, I'm not giving you complete information because some of these change all the time, but basic things that you can look for so you don't report undercover CPD and you conflate them with DHS instead. So what we're seeing with DHS, right? I think the single thing that is the most confusing to folks is that they're wearing these vests that say police on them. That's like the biggest thing on these black vests that make them look like CPD officers. It is helpful to, if you are documenting and observing, to get a picture of the front of them, because the front gives way more information than the back. You just see the police on the back. But the front, they may have way more identifying information, like their badge, like the ATF patch or another division's patch. And they're also like pretty much always masked up. I don't know that we've seen, at least if they're on duty and actively detaining folks and actively scouting folks, we have not seen many instances where they are not masked. A lot of times they have like ball caps too, and they're wearing sort of like camouflage other material, but we're also seeing them in completely plain clothes with the police vest with no badging. So also just wanted to share the vehicles that they've been using. These change all the time as we're seeing, and we've got people who are observing and compiling lists of ICE vehicles, and they change pretty constantly. We also have seen that they are switching license plates in the middle of the day, which is actually illegal in the state of Illinois. The Secretary of State, we need to have like a link bank kind of here. Maybe we'll compile that and send that over. But if you are seeing that they're maybe changing around plates, the Illinois Secretary of State has created a hotline and a portal where you can report that information to as well. But you know, it's not just these sort of mute, neutral color tones. They're using like soccer mom, Chrysler Pacificas. They're using like Denali's. They're using Durangos. Sometimes they're using not just sort of black and white vehicles, but vehicles that may be perceived as just like, you know, just a regular person's license plate. So just be on the lookout for that. And they usually have heavily tinted windows. Sometimes they don't have a front plate and just have a back plate. We are seeing more Illinois vehicles, Illinois license plate vehicles, but initially we had seen a lot that were out of state vehicles. So these things kind of are changing as we are getting a little bit sharper. They're changing their tactics as well. So just to note that. Next slide, please. So again, why should we know your rights? Diana did an amazing job kind of going through our basic constitutional rights. Some people say, like, who cares, right? It's still important to understand at least what constitutionally is technically protected, even though the current administration is not operating with that in mind. It may be helpful in future sort of prosecution and litigation of those folks. And so when you're calling the ICER hotline, if you're not already plugged into a rapid response group, make sure that you're communicating these data points clearly with video or photo documentation if you have them. Size and strength, actions, activity, location, uniform, time and date of observation, and equipment and weapons. And just want to say, like, it's on each of us right now to sort of get involved and be active observers and communicators with our neighbors, like knowing your neighbors and supporting them. So join an ICE Watch group, join a school patrol group. These are folks, you know, not city employees, not people who work for the city of Chicago or something like that. It's like for everyone to step up in this moment and get involved. I think.
And then going back, what you can do again, there's like the Palenques organization that is a few minutes from here. You know, they're all doing a lot of stuff. They're doing a lot of training, Know Your Rights trainings as well. They're doing a school patrolling. So a school patrolling, if you live near a school, you go to the school. What is the school protocol? If you don't know the school protocol, ask the principal, right? And if they're not organizing, well, why don't you also start organizing, right, with parents to support and ensure everyone is safe in that area, right? Or get involved. The Northwest Side School Patrol, you could go. We'll send it this way to you, but if you want to take a screenshot, you could get involved in the school patrolling. There's already some, right? Also, the rapid response groups on the Northwest Side, you could follow them. They are always posting when there's ICE activity going on. But most importantly, is like also like you guys carry this card and ensure like everyone is informed about, you know, if there's any activity. Ensure it's important that you guys also know this number. And the next link. Resources. I think even though, I mean, everyone's like, well, everyone is at capacity. Well, yes, there's probably NIJC, there's Direction Project, there are capacity when it comes to legal services, but you know what? ICER has a list of attorneys that are able to assist. They created the Illinois Immigration Information Hub. Right there you have, like, there's different information, like from Know Your Rights, for local businesses, just regular cards in different languages. You could use it, the ICE locator, the Cook County Public Defender's Office, they're also assisting when people are detained, right? It's just important things to consider. The guide for parents, you know, like if they want to do some type of like guardianship, right? All of these resources are very essential just to have, and we'll send it your way so you guys can also share it. And we are organizing, we have some flyers in the back, but we are organizing a Know Your Rights for CPS, parents and schools. It's going to be virtual on August 13. November 13. Everyone is welcome to join us. We have some flyers in the back, and it will be just to ensure that also parents, right, are informed about the recent changes, what all of this means, and how they could also support anyone in the community. And then we have our immigration briefing on November 18th. And then we're going to be organizing a Know Your Rights for local businesses as well, right? So those are some of the things that we are going to be doing coming up on November. There's some flyers in the back, and I will take any questions that you might have.
And you can keep up with us and all
Yeah.
our events on Instagram is where we post the bulk of our things, and we also post it on our website. And I will pride ourselves that we do like the best job of documentation of all the standing committees. Like we're really wanting to share and make accessible all the information that we have. So please just like peruse our website for, you know, a lot of the information that we get that's internal and privy to city council members and staff. Like we want to make sure we share that with the public because we believe that that is like the fundamental job of this and other committees. So.
Any questions?
I actually have a question, and it's more administrative because I'm a nerd that way. Is it okay with the two of you if we share this on our Facebook page? Because I want the slide deck to be supplemental to the video and everything like that.
Please, yeah. I would say if you export it as a PDF, I don't know if you can click on the link, so maybe just make sure the links work.
Thank you.
Is there another way to get the slides besides Facebook?
I don't know if y'all are able to send it out.
Yeah.
If everyone signed up, if everyone signed the sign-in sheet, you'll be able to get a follow-up email maybe next week with slides and the links. Say that again?
I'll go double check.
Yeah, that'd be great because actually
Make
it's
certain-
sometimes a little hard to know who's.
Make certain you put the email that you check all the time too.
But this deck is on your site as well?
This is not on our site, no.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll if you signed up over there, they'll send it to you. We tend to put things on our website that feel a little bit more evergreen, because these things change all the time. We wanna make sure we're only giving point-in-time information, and since you know, you were here and you got the disclosure from us, but I don't think we'll put this on our website.
They made this whole thing special just for
For the
us.
14th.
That's right.
And I'm sorry to sidebar, is there any way that we could put it on our page, on our city, so that way we can share it there as well? So if you're familiar with the Police District Council 14 page, City of Chicago, we can put a link on there, and our wonderful staff has agreed to go ahead and put a link on there.
If you don't mind, if you can wait for us to add one slide that literally just says, this information is valid as of this day.
Right.
And we'll count on this for future stuff, we would
It's
love
already
that,
up.
yeah, great.
Everything is just changing.
Thank you.
When did you say the one for small businesses is?
That one will be, oh my gosh, that one will be November 13. We're organizing that in Rogers Park, along with all the alders in that area, in the chambers, because obviously the north side has been, obviously there has been a lot of ice activity in that area, so we'll send it. We should have the flyer, hopefully by Monday. It should be posted in our social media, and we'll send it to Oswaldo, so you guys can also have access to it. It will be in Spanish. And we just organized one in English, so we organized one in Vietnamese as well for the Uptown community. So our goal is just like to ensure that every single community from different backgrounds are informed about their rights, and as business owners and employees to also be protected. So we'll send it your way.
And the alder of this ward, like, please feel free to urge them to reach out to us and do some, like, in this area as well. Like, we kind of, based on our 3 staffer capacity, do what we can, but like we are hoping that more people will reach out to us and say, if I wanna do this, how can I do it? If you wanna do it through your alder, or if you wanna reach out to us, we can give you the materials on how to literally launch your own business canvas with a handful of friends. Like, I bullied my friends for my birthday this past year to like do a canvas with me. Like, everyone in this room now can do that with their friends.
Right, and or if you work somewhere, right, like in a business or in a corporation, well, let us know. We could organize something bigger too as well for those entities. Yeah.
I'm part of the Gately School Watch, and I went to a Palenque, LSNA, Zoom meeting about how to identify ICE vehicles. One of the things they brought up, which you all didn't mention, is that most ICE vehicles don't have City of Chicago stickers on them.
We are seeing that actually recently, as of the last 3 weeks, they are starting to.
That's what I
So again, that could be
Yeah.
majority true, and that could have been true in the past. We have just seen, at least on the north side, in the last 3 weeks, some of them have used rental vehicles that have city stickers on them. So again,
Everything there.
heard on that, and things are evolving in real
And
time.
that's what I wanted to verify while you all were here, because that was a real helpful thing, but if it's not valid anymore.
I think it's still majority valid, but I think, again, like we said, they're changing tactics, and what might be true yesterday is not true
today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else? Oh, you have a question, and then we'll go over there.
I had a concern about the DHS form 61. I just wanted to, it seemed possible to me that like having someone fill it out would like maybe, you know, you're giving that information to the Department of Homeland Security, and maybe that like puts a target on your back.
No, that form have it, like your family members, keep it in your house. We just need a signature. Someone can, I could sign it and be like, okay, I'm preparing myself. Diana Perez, I'm not gonna date it. Just with your family plan, right? Let's say Pooja, like I'm gonna give you this form in case I get detained. If I get detained, Pooja will complete the rest, right? Probably like the date it, and then that's how you could send it to your congressman, right? Your congressman. Or your senator to inquire on your where you are at, right?
And this is after
Right.
you are
After
detained.
you're detained.
Right?
Just
So
to have
once you're detained, they have
Right.
you.
Yeah.
So this is all in a situation that the form is a preparatory form that we want everyone to send to their attorney, a loved one,
Right.
and their congressperson, and fill it out ahead of time in the case you are detained.
Right.
Then you use that form, or whoever you're asking to to do the inquiry. They have that ability to actually interact with you when you're detained.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answered.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
The question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had two questions. One was, I think you had mentioned the budget for ICE obviously is gigantic. Does the budget for the department that Bellino is in, I can't remember what that is, if that's, like border patrol maybe? Is that included in, like, are they under, like that, do they have access to that ICE budget?
So, yeah, no, that's a great question. I think they have, because again, so some of these other, there's someone made a chart, which I didn't include here, but it basically is like Homeland Security, and then each of the departments that are under it, each one has its own budget. But if you're deputized by ICE, you probably have some access to it. We're not congressional staffers, so I don't think that I could speak intelligently to you about that, but for sure, they each have their own budgets and they have access to ICE's budget. So that's what I was saying, like with the hidden cost of this like DHS policing, is that they have increased just the ICE line so much. And also, DHS has other pools of money that they're all kind of like using and combining now for immigration efforts.
Thank you. And then my next question was, this is my first time at this meeting. Thank you, it's been super helpful. Thank you. You had mentioned a couple of ordinances, or maybe they were proposed ordinances, and you were asking for community support. How can we support you in moving those forward?
Yeah.
Who do we reach out to?
Yeah, thank you for that question. We just started with our, I'm gonna keep saying this, with our small but mighty team, putting out sort of like legislative introductions and sort of like how to support them. So I would say follow us on socials if you can. And then we also aim to get whatever we put on socials on our website also, so folks who are not on it can like go to the website. And then we would love to share it with these folks, because we want these elected officials to also be bought in to, you know, what we are asking for. And so we'll definitely share that with them, and then it'll be sort of like a call to action in that when we send that follow-up.
Quick follow-up on that question. For the authority ordinance clarification, is that in committee or is that in rules?
That's a great question. It is not, I don't believe it is in rules. I think it got referred to its correct committee, but the committees have to, the chair of the committee has to be willing to create space in the agenda to put it on the agenda. So if there's not a lot of like public support to put it on the agenda, then it's not a priority.
And it's not your committee?
It is a joint committee, I believe. Don't take me at this. Like if you click this, I think something would come up. But I think it's a joint committee between like police and fire and public safety, or police and fire and our committee. I can get that to you in a follow-up. Yeah.
Okay, no, someone.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have both questions?
Yes, yeah, thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
I just wanted to make one comment too, that ICER just recommended the app Ready Now, which allows you to put together a family plan and send out but to people you choose an automated message about what actions to take if you are detained, and you can activate it by just holding your thumb on your phone. And I forgot to tell my partner to set it up, so I was sitting here, he got in a message that said I'd been detained.
Oh my God.
And I said that was a test. But it seems like a really great website to collect a bunch of information and create a comprehensive plan that you can execute really quickly. It's called Ready Now. I don't know who makes it, but ICER recommended it. It's an app, yeah, you can get it from the App Store.
So, and I'm just making certain that we get this on the record and that the people that are viewing this from distance. No, the mic is up here. That's, so it's the Ready Now app, and it's.
Called Ready Now,
Okay.
yes.
And
It was
it's.
promoted by ICER yesterday is when I saw it, and you can get it from the App Store and create a family plan. Like the woman who told me about it said she has a plan of who's gonna feed her cats. It's very detailed and it was pretty straightforward to set up. So thanks for that time. But my question was, you mentioned all this great work you did at the 40thward.org/June4info. Is there some action that's happening now after that, since you've compiled this information to force an investigation?
This ordinance that we then introduced to basically clarify who has investigative authority over potential violations. This as well is something that we introduced, which is basically like, because it has been clear to us, right, what we would like to do is to get the police department to and the other public safety departments to sort of like change their behavior and or enforce some of these local laws. I don't know that we're there yet with votes in the council, so we're at least trying to go the sort of like transparency route. So we're also asking for like reporting, which is why I asked that follow-up question to the commander about like if they get called to do a verification if this is DHS or whatever, like the public deserves to know the salute information of where that happened so that we can understand what that interaction looked like at the bare minimum. And so these two things hope to at least reduce that gap following
That's good to know.
that
Is
incident.
there something specific that's happening with that incident now that you've gathered that data? Is there anything we can do to support you in improving the collusion or pressuring people about that specific incident? Is my question.
Yeah, with that specific incident, because the Welcoming City Ordinance actually, there's no sort of like extra accountability measure for folks who violate the Welcoming City Ordinance besides the existing.
So once they say we're not going to investigate it, there's nothing.
Yeah, or they actually, the investigation has to happen. I believe the Inspector General's office is doing the investigation right now because we had a public facing hearing.
Okay.
And we were like, can someone like just do it? For the love of God. And so I believe OIG is doing it right now. So we hope to get something from them. I think we're giving them some time, and that we're have basically been combing through this body camera footage that we received to understand what can be taken next. But these are the two immediate things that we think will help to solve the gap for all future incidents.
Got it, thank you.
I was just gonna follow up on where the authority ordinance is, because I just looked it up on the clerk's website. It says it's referred to rules, but I'm confused because it says referred to the joint committee, immigration, police,
Yes.
fire. But also it says, I've never seen this status, it says it's also still in rules.
Oh, okay, that's confusing.
Well, and I
yeah.
might be reading it wrong, although I do have some familiarity with the process, so, but I'll be curious to hear the update, I guess. 'Cause I don't-
I'll be curious to see what you see, because I
don't
thought it
wanna
was referred to
stuck-
the correct joint committee.
I don't want it stuck in rules either, it has to get referred out, right, so like,
Yeah.
that's, yeah. It's just trying to help, but literally have it and can't tell it.
Yeah, that's really funny.
And bring us home.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. I have a question, and just for a little bit of context, recently, I believe and I think all district councilors got an email from GAPA, the Grassroots Alliance for Police Accountability, that was one of the groups that helped push for the ordinance that created the district councils and CCPSA. They were asking us to call on the commission, the 7-member body that has powers over setting CPD policies, to call on them to hold a hearing related to how the city is relating to federal immigration enforcement activities. I asked them a question of what are your specific, goals for the hearing? I have not yet heard back. But my question to you is, what would you like district councilors or the commission to do in regards to this work, whether that's in some way promoting these two ordinances or something else?
I think I have too many things to say in response to that, that it would take up like 2 more hours probably.
Well, we can continue to talk
Yeah.
later, okay.
Yeah, but I think like, essentially like we need to convene sort of a body to some extent, or like a group of each of these folks that are able to identify what big gaps there are with our current existing like laws on the books, and how we can reduce it, 2 of which we believe are these passage of these ordinances. But if, say for example, y'all have some better insight to say like, the public safety divisions that are not gonna like abide by this ordinance that's passed, like maybe this isn't the move, like that's what we think is the move, but happy to sort of have a.
I didn't mean to imply that if I did.
No, not at all. I'm just saying, like, I think it would be really helpful to sort of convene a bunch of different stakeholders to come up with a suite of recommendations on what we can do in this moment. 2 of which we think is this, but like maybe there's insight that that's not the most appropriate thing.
Well, thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your presentation. I
Thank
think
you.
there was a lot of high value to it. And I ask, let me go ahead and unplug you here.
Oh, thank you.
It's not plugged in anymore. There you go. Thank you once again.
Thanks everyone for coming. We're going to be, we have to formally continue and finish our meeting, but if you are leaving, grab any materials you need. We're just about going to be wrapping soon, I think.
Yes, So before we move forward, there's one thing I left out of my updates and I wanted to share with everyone, and it's as early as this past Thursday. So it's very hot button item. The Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability is a 7-member body. They did hold a vote, roll call vote on the new president. Commissioner Anthony Driver has stepped down as president. He's still serving on the commission, but he's got a lot of pokers in the fire, so he stepped down, and I applaud him for doing so. The candidates to replace him as president were Commissioner Ramel Terry and Commissioner Abier Minor, and Commissioner Ramel Terry is now our new president. She was serving as the vice president, so now they're starting the process to fill the vice president role. So just a quick update on that. All right. Anything else as far as discussions? Councilor Vargas?
No, motion to adjourn.
Okay. Councilor Orlikov?
I had two really quick things, but I can, as far as police accountability updates, there was some news, including from CBS, about Black Chicagoans being arrested as legal gun owners, and the legal gun registry being used against Black legal gun owners. And also, anybody who's still here who's interested, please look up the Public Health and Safety Campaign as part of the current city budget process. They're fighting to get more violence prevention. Thank you.
Okay, and just for formality, the vote on the bylaw amendment, we're
I call it
tabling that?
table that.
We're tabling that. Any objections to tabling that amendment?
No.
All right, so be it. We will table that to a future meeting, to be determined, I imagine. That being said, our next meeting will be, been on the stream the entire time. It's going to be at the Wicker Park, Bucktown Public Library, located at 1701 North Milwaukee Avenue. And that will be on December 6th, 2025, which is a Saturday, starting at 1 p.m. That being said, if there's no other business, we'll go ahead and adjourn.
Yep. Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Time now is 2:50 p.m.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
We made it.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us. We'll send this as well for you guys to share with
Thanks for having us.
I am behind on a few things. At our special meeting, I promised to send the August ones. I know that you sent other ones. I did not look if you sent the August. Still am planning to send the August.
I didn't send the
Obviously,
August. As a matter of fact,
Okay.
in my email, it says that you had agreed to take care of the
Yes.
August.
Yeah.